what is your perspective on that? What is your perspective on anti-Semitism? Obviously, it is something real that exists, and it's something that anyone can fall into. Muslims can fall into, to hate the Jewish race simply because someone is a Jew, to hate them. That's my definition as a kind of racism. And Islam is against racism, whether it's against black, white, Asian, or Jew. So can you give us your definition? Does your definition correspond, or is there a difference?
No, I don't use the word anti-Semitism. I think the whole concept is an inaccuracy. And like I said at the beginning of the debate, my first slide is, is Judaism what Jews do or what the sages teach? And besides for loving Judaism, having studied it my whole life, I also love metaphysics and philosophy of mind. And I think it's also a fallacy from even a secular, scientific, psychological point of view of philosophy of mind. But I'm happy to just a precursor to say there's what Jews do, Jewish organizational, Jewish group strategy that may or may not correspond with the religion. So, like I have met actually Abe Boxman when he came to Detroit. I met Jonathan Greenblatt. I know almost all the local representatives of the ADL. They're actually mostly women, volunteer attorneys, kind of keyboard warriors. So, I mean, if you want to look, what angle to look at it, to like what motivates the ADL, and then also maybe to clarify some misconceptions of how Jewish organizational life works, how Jewish power influence lobbying works, and where the ADL fits in greater Jewish organization. And mention the ADL is not a religious organization. Religious people have their own view, and like I said in the debate, I don't think people are one-dimensional. And to say anti-Semitism, and I would say, why I chose to speak out. Generally Jews, maybe historically since the beginning of times, but certainly in the U.S., organizational Jewry likes to go through a unified voice. So most Jews will look at me as doing a disservice because we have organizations, we have leadership, and kind of fall in line. And as a minority, we're more powerful when we speak through a unified voice. So if I'm giving a dissenting view, and the reason I've chosen to be a dissenter, not just maybe leaning anti-Zionism, but because I think that general Jewish strategy is a mistake, most specifically through this concept of anti-Semitism, and God forbid trying to ruin the life of perceived opponents. And in my perception, that these organizations that fight anti-Semitism actually cause more anti-Semitism and are a radicalizing factor, and they ruin the ability to say, okay, well, let's say you had a conflict with an individual Jew, or God forbid there's a war going on in Israel, and to make it collectively to where, probably not you're a God-fearing man, you probably wouldn't fall into it, but I've spoken to a lot of other people that aren't God-fearing people that fall into anti-Semitism because they see that like the Jews are out to get them, and they don't know where to turn because these organizations, or say, even just random Jews, they're going to do a hit piece on you, and some random Jew that doesn't really know any better is going to read it, and they're going to say, "Oh man, I got to try to ruin your life in order to save the Jewish people." So.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings upon you all. How's everyone doing? I hope you guys can hear and see properly. Can I just get a little feedback on the video and voice quality? Salam, how are you? I see you there. Finko, how you doing as well? Thank you for being early. I see that there's a few viewers. It's just if someone can tell me that it sounds okay, that you guys can hear me well, and then we can inshallah get with the show, God willing. Sweet. Thank you, Mari. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the brother that you just saw on the left there. His name is Daniel Haqiqatjou. I'm sure that people who go around the YouTube and thank you. The people that go around the YouTube verse and the Twitter verse, they're going to see some clips, if not the videos by Daniel Haqiqatjou. So currently, Daniel Haqiqatjou is under a lot of pressure because of a certain group that's in the United States. They're called the ADL. I just want to talk a little bit about on that situation in regards to what Daniel's going through. Give you a little bit more background on Daniel. I've been watching Daniel a few things. Now, just a quick disclaimer. I don't agree with a lot of what Daniel preaches in regards to certain things to do with Islam. But he is someone who, he is sticking to what he's learned. So he's not trying to baby things, or he's not trying to mitigate things away by like in concepts of lying. He's trying to address the issues directly. He has a very keen view on regards to Islam being very traditional, that there's a traditional approach to Islam, and that's the Islam that he wants to promote. I've been following Daniel for maybe 2 years, 1 year and a half. He's an excellent debater. That's where I first got introduced to Daniel. I see how he crushes his opponents. And, you know, like traditional Islam, it does dominate over a lot of other views and worldviews, but it's not the complete truth, of course, in our eyes, in my eyes, I mean. But these are things that I can like overcome or kind of like pardon, is just because he's at least closer to the straight line than anyone else. Now, the thing that I want to point out is that Daniel Haqiqatjou is not of a platform that is big as other platforms. Yes, he has a pretty significant platform. I believe on YouTube he has about 300,000 subscribers. Collectively on all other platforms, there's about like maybe like you could say 500,000 people. Between 300,000 to 500,000 people are exposed to his views from people who subscribe to him. And then of course his coverage is quite big online. He has a good online presence. With that said, there's people with bigger platforms that are in the United States, because this is something pertaining to the United States politics, and they've spoken about the situation in Gaza and Israel, and they put Israel in a very bad light, and they're not getting the same hate that Daniel is getting right now. So let me just start with introducing a little bit more of Daniel. Daniel Haqiqatjou, I believe he's a Harvard graduate. He graduated with a major in physics, and then he minored with philosophy, and then he majored in philosophy. He got a major in philosophy, I think in Tufts University or a different university. So he's definitely somebody who's learned, someone who is of an intellectual background. He's comparative, like obviously everyone has their own fingerprint, but you could compare him to the likes of Muhammad Hijab, who's a British da'i, and Daniel is of a similar nature in the United States, but the angle of attack for Daniel is traditionalism versus Western liberalism. Okay, so now with that said, Daniel himself has always been a person where he will address the points that he sees fit. Now, mind you, he did come from a Shia background. So he grew up as a Shia Muslim, and then I believe he was introduced to a few scholars from the Deoband region, or the Deobandi madhab, and at that point he asserted, or he thought, that the Sunni is a better approach, being a Sunni, and he held that, and we went with it. And he's been producing material both on an academic level on his institute, with I think it's called the Asna Institute, I'm not sure. And then he has his online e-jihad, you could say, in the thing that's called MuslimSkeptic. Now, the thing that made Daniel Haqiqatjou known to a lot of people is a video that he produced a while ago called The Dark Legacy. This is showing certain people that are in either the Dawah scene in America or in the political scene, as they are people who are trying to transform Islam from within. They're getting a lot of support from people that are in governmental positions, or people that are from outside of the United States who want to push secular ideas. So trying to say, like, you know what, yeah, you know, homosexuality is not accepted in Islam. Homosexuality is not accepted in Islam, but we need to start being a little bit more understanding. And then other people who are teaching the idea that, you know what, feminism has its place in society, so we should start being accepting of these kind of ideas, is just a subversion tactic painted as Sunni Islam. And he made this video and he showed his proof. He came from an intellectual position with an angle based upon proofs and testimonies from people. And this video really started to go around. It was well accepted by his fellow da'is, which would be people who are considered like the Medina Salafi, the modern Medina Salafi. I mean, Medina is the graduates of Medina, or the school of Medina in Saudi Arabia. And they have a certain way of viewing Islam, which is, in my opinion, a very arrogant and in-your-face nature, that we're going to heaven and everyone else that doesn't agree with us is going to hell. But they have a very skewed view, A, on the religion, and B, on how to handle society, right? So they are very, well, we're going to get into that. So he made the Dark Legacy. The Dark Legacy was very well accepted with people. And then now he started building a platform. But all of a sudden, to the dismay of certain da'is, he started to actually talk about things pertaining to Islam within it. He started to talk about problems that is happening in Saudi Arabia, where there is a movement where the people in the land of Zion, the Zionists, want to change Islamic textbooks and the Islamic curriculum, especially in public schools, to reword things so that the books are talking about Jews in a positive light. So things that are said that are not about nice about Jews, we're gonna push those to a side, and the ones that people have accepted, we're gonna reward it so it's not so anti-Jewish. And then this is something that Daniel Haqiqatjou brought forth. He didn't directly criticize the rulers. He kind of implicitly criticized them, and he brought the information forth. That's all he did. He's trying to protect what he understands what Islam is, because he understands how devastating Western secularism and Western ideas is to what Islam is. They're almost on opposite spectrums, on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Now, when he did that, he started to get a little bit of a pushback, and then he didn't care about the pushback. He just said, like, you guys, these ideas will destroy our children. These ideas are not acceptable. These ideas are anti-Islam. And I don't care where you are in how you view Islam. I think a lot of people understand my position, and they know me and Daniel Haqiqatjou would never see eye to eye, but we both believe in the same book. We both believe in the same prophet, and we believe in all the other prophets, and we believe in God and the day of judgment. I put an interview at the beginning with, I would call a Jewish scholar or a rabbi called David, and you could see, like, that scholar, a man of God, can recognize another man of God. He said, "You're a man of God." So I don't sense this bigotry or extremism. And they talked about what anti-Semitism is. It was a nice conversation. It's on his channel. And then all of a sudden, Halloween comes around. I say Halloween because of the way it sounds funny to me. Daniel also started to talk about the Gulf states again. You know, there was no problem if Daniel talked about the Turkish state, and if Erdogan paints Erdogan as a mafia member and that he's putting his people down, or if he talks about the Muslim Brotherhood that was in Egypt and he puts them down, there would have been no problem. But then he started to talk about things pertaining to the Gulf region. And this is something that's very important. So he was criticizing on how secularism is revolutionizing the Gulf states. And all of a sudden now, the people who were originally supposed to be his friends, they started to try to label him as somebody who is skewed in his aqidah. So you shouldn't be learning, nor should you be listening to him. They didn't want to fully crucify him yet. They didn't want to fully cut ties and everything, but they do it slowly by putting this pressure on him on a public stage. So here there's this video with our favorite neighborhood da'i gangster Sheikh Uthman. He trapped Daniel in a position where Daniel was invited to talk about a general topic, and all of a sudden he started asking him questions about his understanding, like, because there was a time he was asked a question and Daniel said, like, the people of Deoband and the school of Deobandi is a school that I respect because they've helped me understand the religion better, and they've produced many things that is positive for what the religion is. But this is a problem that is happening right now with Islam. It's like, yes, there's a lot of sects, and sectarianism is completely wrong. You're supposed to bridge these differences so that you try to stay in a single community despite people having different interpretations. The point is to bridge, not disconnect, not to sectorize, not to secularize. But what people end up doing is they'll find the most skewed negative opinion and interpretation, the worst extremist view of a certain sect, and then apply it to everybody. Okay, so some Shias insult the wife of the Prophet. You should never insult the wife of a Prophet, regardless if you think that she was doing what God has ordered her to do, or if she's not doing what God has ordered her to do. She is still your mother. You don't insult her. There are some people in the Shia sect that insult her, but the majority don't. But the Sunnis like to put it as like, oh no, all Shias insult her. No, that's not true. In the Deobandi madhab, or like way, there are people that do some crazy things that is alike to polytheism, or like calling upon lords and dead people and doing some crazy things that kind of look like Sufism, but it isn't. But this is just a small group of them. But then again, the Salafis have this amazing ability of taking the worst interpretation of that sect and applying it to everybody, so everybody's going to hell. That's the crazy part. It's a fact. Now, can this be done with the original Arabic? I don't know, but with the translations. Brother, I've heard they have versions of translations that are made to confirm hadith. Yeah, of course. Like a lot of people, when they translate the Quran, they always want to put their interpretation because it's very difficult to translate the Book of God. No, he or she. Yeah, so obviously they're going to have skewed problems. But let's get back to the topic. So Daniel started to criticize what's going on in the Middle East. Now they're trying to paint him as a certain figure. All of a sudden, we have now the people who supported Daniel in the beginning, like this guy called Sajjad Lifam, which he's very okay in presenting what Salafism is. He is kind-hearted in the way that he speaks, but he's very in tune to whatever he's been taught and whatever the cult teaching taught him to be. So he quickly makes a video saying like, you know what, I had some relationships with Daniel Haqiqatjou at one point. We made videos about LGBT and anti-LGBT and anti-feminism and these Western ideas, but now I want to disassociate with him. I don't want anything to do with him. So Daniel responds. All of a sudden now, all of these people start to attack Daniel. It came out of the blue, right? So Daniel, as Daniel is good at, he made a video showing how certain individuals that you think they are people who are calling you to God, they're to them, their shahada technically, they might not say it, but you could see it in the way they act, is there is no deity except God, but the Gulf ruler is my Lord. Like, I will do whatever he tells me to do. If he tells me to lay down and kill myself, I'm going to say this is against God, but because the ruler told me to, I will. Oh, the rulers didn't support Hamas, so now I'm not going to support Hamas. Whatever the Gulf rulers say, I will do. As long as the Gulf rulers saying La ilaha illallah, everything's permissible if they decided. I might not partake, but it's okay. So they will defend these government organizations to the T. He made this video showing how these people that are very famous, and one of them in the picture is Rabbi Faris al-Shmuni, which we covered on the episode before. He makes this video, which I want to show you a part of this video, just the intro, and he completely demolishes them. Okay, so 1 second.
The Salaf were not bootlickers like you. They want to rip the community apart and cause as much division as possible. Many madkhalis are agents of governments. There is official documentation recommending the US government secretly fund madkhalis. My warning to you, Sajid, is that the madkhalis... Brother Sajid Lipham has announced that he is disassociating from me. He has also taken down all the videos on his channel about me.
So that's just as far as I want to go with this. So he's clearly giving you about, and this video is about an hour long, showing you proof on how these people, not Sajid himself yet, because we didn't have that much evidence, but it seems like it. But these other people are tied with the government. Okay, so the government is telling them what to say and what not to say and how to act and how not to act. And then they attach it as this is your aqidah, this is your religion. Okay, he had intense pushback because of this. Why? Because now he's up against government agencies. He's exposed the government agencies that this is a teaching done by a report that came out of the United States by CIA, FBI, the intelligence of the United States on how to control the Muslim population in the Gulf region so that they would be very accepting of whoever the ruler is, as long as the ruler is willing to make ties with the Zionist state and with the West. But if the ruler doesn't want to do that, then they would remove him. They would use all these agents to talk bad about him, to put him down. And until a new agent comes, then the story is forgotten. So like these three people that you see there, they went and tried to destroy Mohammed Morsi, the Egyptian president, may he rest in peace, Allah yarhamhu, because he was from the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Muslim Brotherhood did not want to make ties with Israel or the Zionist state, and they did not want to make ties with the West on the scale that Egypt is doing now. So these people who were hired by the government went and tried to destroy him. Daniel exposed all of this. It was a great video. I recommend you watch it. It's on his channel. And then the Palestinian war started. When the Palestinian war started, most of what Daniel was exposing who these people are became as clear as the sun in the morning on a clear day. You could see how much hate they have for the population of the general common Muslim population and how much love they have and loyalty to their leaders. They are like dogs at this point, loyal, boot-looking dogs. Because you have someone like who is saying things like, Daniel Haqiqatjou has the personality of a little spoiled girl. He cannot tolerate people talking against him. He has immense ego. Then he says he debates for the sake of Islam, which he does. And then your debates and tweets are for your ego. May Allah relieve the Muslims by inciting death upon you. Ameen. So, there is a verse in the Quran. It says that whoever intercedes on behalf of someone in a good way, he gets part of it. And whoever intercedes on somebody or to somebody in a negative way, he gets a part of that as well. So this man is going to get what he's asking for, he himself, because he's attacking somebody who's trying to liberate what he understands of what pure Islam is from the crazy mentality. Okay, so that crazy mentality is what he doesn't want to be painted as Islam. So this attack happened in August in 2023, before the war. So you could see how much hate this man was getting because he talked about the government agencies who's running Islam. The war started. And now the people who were considered as madkhalis, which is what he calls them, because they're following a certain idea of a certain sheikh who's telling you have to be loyal to the people no matter what, they started to show up in the publications of the Jewish papers, Times of Israel. I don't like using that name for them because they're not Israel. They got nothing to do with the Prophet Israel. They stole the name. But anyways, this guy called Shamsi, I'm pretty sure we all know this loudmouth person that does not have Islam in his heart. The only thing he knows is a bunch of books, and he knows how to talk in a certain way, and he just knows the material. But he himself has not accepted Islam in his heart. He is a person who is vile, a person who puts people down just because they say things that don't agree with him. And he causes more fights within Muslims more than whoever he brings into Islam. And whoever comes on his hand of Islam gets such a skewed message where they're left questioning. Because they just pull him in and then, okay, now you're part of the cult, you don't agree, then you're going to hell. So it's just all blackmail. And this man is showing up all of a sudden on the Times of Israel, and the Times of Israel saying, senior Islamic scholar Shamsi bin Safi, a proponent of madkhalism that supports strong ties with the state of Israel if the Arab rulers permit it. Okay, this is what Daniel was talking about in the video that people attacked him, said this is not true, this is not true. Well, now we're getting proof that Israel is saying, yeah, this is true because we are the ones who are propagating this information. And then our favorite rabbi, Rabbi Faris, is getting thanked now by the IDF. Of course, it's a parody, but because they understand how much this man is helping the Israeli narrative. Dear Faris Hamidi, please send us your address, Habibi. We'd love to send you a Starbucks gift card and a year's supply of Coca-Cola. because Faris wants to say that the Gulf rulers are yeah, Shamsi is the where's the Mecca guy? He doesn't know where Mecca is apparently as a Muslim. But these people want to elevate people like Faris, who says that, you know what, the Muslim or the Arab rulers, they're next level intelligence. They know how to play lawyer with the religion of God, to bring Western values and to demote the religion, and we don't partake, but we're going to defend them. And God says in the Quran, okay, you're defending them in the worldly life. Are you going to defend them from God in the hereafter? Never mind, yeah, he's my ruler. He's my Lord. Of course, God, you're God, but that man was my Lord. Whatever he says, I'm going to do. Cool. Okay. So this man now all of a sudden is getting attacked, and okay, but the war started. He exposed the people in the Madkhalis. They're showing the true hypocrisy is showing like wildfire. Okay. And the man that wanted to talk about his debates, I just want to show you a clip of a debate of Daniel with somebody. Now, I'm a person who debates on the same platform as Daniel. I did try to see if the moderator would let me have a discussion or debate with Daniel, and Daniel just refused. I did try to talk to Daniel a few times, and I understand why he might not want to talk to me. One, it's not for him. He might not see that I'm not being very reformist in my ideas of what Islam is. So I'm not saying that things like LGBT or feminism or like just complete free mixing is something that Islam promotes. No, I don't believe that. That's my interpretation and understanding. And the second thing is that he might not want to give me a platform so that my ideology and my understanding of Quran, where certain things align, for that not to be propagated. And three, he might not just want to be involved because he doesn't know what my background is or where I'm coming from. But this man appeared so many times on a modern day debate. And I just want to show you a clip of how, like, I've seen something in a debate almost rarely ever happens because of how well he presents his information. He's very, very good in presenting an argument. So here we go, just 1 second. Boom.
I'll give 3 reasons why race-based society is bad and religion-based society is superior. First, the value argument. Second is the degeneracy argument. Thirdly, the longevity argument.
All right, well, what an intro statement. James, I would like to just concede. Daniel is right, and yeah, you're just better than me, bro.
Are you sarcastic?
No. No, I'm not sarcastic. I think what you presented, I fully agree. I fully agree with everything you've said. That is the kind of religious view that I support.
So yeah, as you can see, Daniel presented himself in a way where an atheist agreed with the view. One, you got to give prop to the atheist. Sorry. Yeah, you have to give props to the atheist for being honest, right? But at the same time, he on a public channel said I conceded in a debate. That's not something this is something that's very rare for it to happen. And Daniel, in the way he presented himself, made that happen by the permission of God. So this is not somebody who's stupid and just talking out of his whims. Now, to go back to what's going on today with the ADL. First, we have to establish who the ADL is. The ADL is an agency that is in the United States, who their whole core purpose is to defend from defamation, specifically Jewish defamation. You could see that the person, David, the Jewish scholar at the beginning, saying like these groups right here, they have very little to do with what Judaism really is. But they're trying to unify the voice of what the Jewish people would like to achieve or what the Jewish people are about so that they could crush their enemies. But in the meantime, aside from something like ADL, they have other forces where they want to disunify, they want to separate their opponents' voices so that they could not work together against such a small minority. Okay, now this ADL group, no, that was just like a troll. Anyway, sorry, I think no, I wasn't. But so to get back to it, so the ADL is set up in a position in regards to trying to destroy any opponent of what they would perceived as a political threat to Judaism, where if you have a platform and you're able to spread certain words that the ADL will not like, they will crush you. But the ADL, as you could see, is not something that has little resources. $100 million to spread your information is not little money. This is just their revenue. So the amount of money that's under them at their hands and their disposal is really big. But the ADL doesn't work alone. They have other PACs, right? So these are in the politics. APAC, American Israel PAC, right? This is entrenched into the American government. It's, as they said, it's bipartisan, so it's both Republic and Democratic, and they have senators in their pocket. They have Congress people, senators, judges in their pockets. Do this, they do this. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, what's this got to do with Daniel? Well, this is not where this stops. These people, if they label you in a certain way, right? Now, the way that, if you're labeled in a certain way, they have the ability to seek to put you on lists with the NSA, lists with the FBI, with border control, with CIA, to completely now start to surround you in a way to siege your life so that you are quiet, you are canceled, you are gone. Okay. Now, the ADL recently made a post about Candace Owens. Candace Owens was fired from Daily Wire, which you probably heard of, where she did criticize how the Zionist state was reacting to the war with Palestine, with Gaza. You're committing a genocide. It's kind of clear. What is anti-Semitism? Why are you guys fighting me? Why are you guys putting me down? ADL makes one post. Within a few days or a few hours after this, Candace Owens now is fired from the Daily Wire. But we're not going to talk about it. Because again, the Daily Wire, which is run by two Zionist proponents, they were pressured by these groups to fire her. Why? To take away her money, her revenue, to silence her, to defame her, to try to eliminate her. Of course, nowadays, thank God, it's pushing against them rather than for them. Now, Candace Owens has 3 million people as a subscriber. Okay, I think so, around 3 million. There's a lot of people that heard of Candace Owens. Okay, so it's understandable for them to go to someone as big as Candace Owens. What's Daniel Haqiqatjou, which is nowhere near the size of Candace Owens? Why is he being targeted? Not Omar Soleimani, for example, who has a huge audience and he's been constantly talking bad about the Zionist state. But that person, they're not going to target. This is getting a little weird. Now, I want to show you a little bit more about how the ADL thinks and functions. So this is the whoever, I don't want to say his name because I want to treat them how they treat us. There's no point of saying his name because of how much of a low person he is. Okay, so let's hear what he has to say on how the ADL works, and he's pretty much the top honcho at the ADL.
That we've been fighting hate for, again, over almost 110 years. Facebook is the front line of fighting hate today, and social media is a super spreader of anti-black racism, anti-Jewish hate, anti-Asian hate, etc. So literally, we opened a center in Silicon Valley back in 2017. And the woman who runs it, she's an ex-Facebook executive. I have software engineers and data scientists working at ADL. We're monitoring all this stuff. And we're working with all the platforms, by the way, Google and YouTube and Meta and Twitter and Reddit and Steam and Amazon, all these companies. From like Apple to Zoom, we work with all of them, okay?
Just to stop you there. So anything, when you get to a certain level, this man can make one phone call to one of all these companies that he listed and say, please demonetize, please remove, please take down. The other people, just like the Medkhalis, have absolutely no option other than to comply. This is not freedom of speech. This is not freedom of choice. This is, they decide what is anti-Semitism, they decide what terrorism is, they decide what racism is, and it does not apply to me. It applies to you whenever I feel like it, but it doesn't apply to me. This is, okay, so me as a person, I just want to explain something before we carry on. I am a person who comes from original, what I would say Israeli blood. I have a Jewish last name, but we've converted way before all of these people and their grandparents were born. There's many Arabs in the Middle East that technically have a Jewish last name. But it's not Jewish, it's an Israeli last name. We have Israeli blood within us. We understand what it takes. We understand on how to manipulate the general public to get them into what we want to say. So I might know that you're not an anti-Semite. I know you're not talking bad about Jews. I get it. But if I use these words in a certain way and keep repeating it, I am going to take them a portion of the public in a lie so that I can destroy you. Okay? So it's all political on the way that we talk to each other. I grew up in this environment. I'm not saying my parents nor my ancestors were in the politics of whatever country I'm from, but rather they understand how we can speak to each other about certain things without having to say it outright. Because if I say things outright, then now I have committed to the point of view and I can't slipper my way out of it. I can't snake my way out of it if I'm wrong. So a lot of what they're saying is always it's weighted and calculated so they have an exit. Even if the exit is a lie, they have an exit. This is the way of a devil. But the people who are children of Israel that adhere to the code of God, they don't do that because they know that God understands what you're saying. So maybe I can lie to him, I'm not lying to God, and now I'm going to have a terrible life because I have that mentality. Okay? So these people, they're saying a lot of things without saying it. When he's saying we talk from Apple to Zoom, he's saying that I can screw you over from Apple to Zoom. But he's not saying that. He's just being nice about it. Now let's carry on with what this. Hey, can you guys hear me again? I apologize about this. I had a few issues with the computer here. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so I'm just gonna wait for somebody to say that if they can hear me or not. I think we're good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna carry on. So,
and social media is a super split back in 2017. And the woman who runs it, she's an ADL. We're monitoring all this stuff. And we're working with all the platforms, by the way. Google and YouTube and Meta and Twitter and Reddit and Steam and Amazon, all these companies. From like Apple to Zoom, we work with all of them, okay? That's relevant because we've been working with Twitter now since it was founded. We worked with the old regime, working with the new regime. I wasn't a big fan of the management at old Twitter. Like old Twitter has been like a hellscape for a long time.
How about Jack Dorsey then? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, and we worked with his staff on almost a daily basis, certainly a weekly basis.
Hey, is this are we back good? It's looking like everything's back to working correctly. Let me know. I apologize about this. Yes, my computer did bug when maybe because that's what I get for calling him a name when I shouldn't have called him a name. Can you guys, is everything well? We're back? Awesome. Okay, let's carry this on. So this is the dude from the ADL talking about Twitter now.
Relevant because we've been working with Twitter now since it was founded. We worked with the old regime, working with the new regime. I wasn't a big fan of the management at old Twitter. Like old Twitter has been like a hellscape for a long time.
How about Jack Dorsey then? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, and we worked with his staff on almost a daily basis, certainly a weekly basis. And oftentimes there are a lot of issues. Now, Elon, I think Elon is somebody who wants to do the right thing because he wants to make the business work. And if it remains a hellscape, the advertisers won't take part in it. They don't want their brands. Brand safety is linked to user safety, right? So they don't want, Procter & Gamble and McDonald's and Coca-Cola. They don't want their brands up against like white supremacist hate speech.
Okay, so this man said a lot of things that needs to be a little bit unpacked. He's not talking in a place where he's saying, oh, well, the advertisers don't want to be advertising on a platform where these other posts happen about like white supremacy and all this nonsense that he was trying to spew. He's not saying that the people don't want. He's saying we won't allow it. That's what he's saying here. It's because he's talking on behalf of these advertisers. When he's saying they don't want is we don't want it. So he would make a phone call to Disney and say, you know what? For us to be a unified voice, we cannot post on Twitter. So don't advertise on Twitter, right? So, walaikum salam. And what ends up happening is they start putting these pressure on people to get what they want. This is something that is very, very well known in the Israeli mentality. I'm not going to destroy you. I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to jail you right away. I am going to gaslight you until I get what I want. And the way that I'm going to present myself is I'm going to look either like the victim or I'm going to look like the hero, and you're going to look the evil one, because I get to have all these foot soldiers around me defending me, and whatever you have as foot soldiers, I will buy them. So it's such an evil strategy. Okay, so this is what these individuals like to do. Other than Candace Owen being targeted, they targeted Elon Musk. Okay, now before we get into Elon Musk, who's a coward, why would somebody target Elon Musk, who has one of the richest people in the world, talk to him about what the ADL is and how you're promoting anti-Semitism, fly him to Israel, change his mind, bring him back, and then go start making a piece about Daniel Haqiqatjou? Again, there's something that is very odd. Okay, so let's see what happened with Elon Musk and what Elon Musk said.
First interview since publishing a post agreeing with a user making an anti-Semitic comment earlier this month on X, apologized for what he called his dumbest ever social media post. But he lashed out at advertisers leaving the platform. Comment earlier this month on X, apologized for what he called his dumbest ever social media post. But he lashed out at advertisers leaving the platform.
I hope they stop.
You hope
Don't advertise.
you don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go yourself.
But
Go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
Well, he didn't hold back. A slew of brands, including Disney and Apple, decided to stop advertising on.
So you see, this is him. He's not as technical with how the ADL would present itself and the people who are of an Israeli mindset. Because he declared war there. He committed to the words. He said, you're not going to blackmail me. So now you insulted me. Go F yourself. You clearly insulted me. You're saying that it's about the money. To us, it's not about the money. It's about you knowing your position. Because you could be the richest man, but your money's not availing you at this point. It's not about the money. It's about the pressure that I can put on you. And they kept pressuring him where they're back on suit. So now Elon is playing games. He's playing with the Zionists. As I showed you in the first episode, I believe that Elon Musk, after he went to the Zionist land, visited Netanyahu, seen all the lies that they do, he came back and updated the algorithms for Twitter or X to not promote Hamas's content and to demote anybody who's talking about Hamas and to fully promote the Zionist position. So it's no longer freedom of speech, and I can prove it to you. But this is not the conversation. The conversation is back to our brother, our Sunni brother, who believes in God and the last day and the book of God, despite his differences with what we understand of what the religion is and what other people understand of religion. I don't care if you're Shia, I don't care if you're Deobandi, Salafi, Tajandi, Qaddani is different, but Qaddani, Qur'ani, Muslim, Mu'min, however you view it, okay? This is the important message for you now. He is somebody who is being targeted by a clear enemy to all of us. This enemy is a person or an entity that is designed to put you down, to not unify your voices, to destroy your country, to destroy your religion, to take over your governments, to take over your economies, to take over your media. This force and the ideas that they're presenting is all demonic. They're all demonic because they will not teach their kids to run after pornography, but they will teach your kid to run after pornography. This is who they are. This is their mentality. Oh, that's anti-Semitic. No, it isn't. This is what they present themselves as. As you saw with the person who truly studied the Torah and the books of the Jewish religion, they will reject Zionism. They will reject this subversion tactic, and they will reject this unification of a voice and forcing everybody to go into their lies. Okay? So when this is currently happening time after time, we need to set our differences aside until the day of judgment and work together. Okay, so why did they target Daniel Haqiqatjou? They presented him in a way where it's very subliminal, extremely subliminal with the word choices that they chose. Okay, Daniel Haqiqatjou, and this is an ADL. This was published about 4 days ago on their website, Daniel Haqiqatjou, what you need to know. He's an extremist. He's in terrorism and bigotry. And this is a center of extremism. The word choices that they used here is enough to put him on NSA's watch list. So him, his wife or wives, not sure, and his children are now going to be monitored online on every single activity. He is literally up against a proper form of jihad at this point. Because I hope, maybe if he's listening, he needs to be at this point as much tawakkul, you could say, or as much reliance upon God, that God is with the people who are performing jihad. But he fully knows that he, his family, and the people who talk to him are at a risk of gaslighting, psychological pressure, monetary pressure, and if he leaves the country and goes to a certain countries, possibly death. They need to eliminate him, not because of who he is, because they want to use him as an example. What did Daniel do to get this post, to be on the ADL watch list? Well, the answer is actually very simple. They use the word anti-LGBT, which is something that they do promote a lot in the Western world. Okay, and there's a verse that says that whatever evil plans somebody makes, it actually affects their own people or themselves. So whatever plan you make against people, whatever evil plans or bad plans that you make, it will always fall back on their own people. So the Zionists' mentality to keep people subverted, they want to push homosexuality to everywhere in the world because that's freedom for them, and you start detaching from God and you start following your desires, sexual desires. Tel Aviv is known to be the capital of homosexuality. So whatever they tried to design outside, it kind of went to their own people, and they went against the word of God at this point. But you can't talk about that, obviously, because you're going to start being called an anti-LGHTV+. Okay? And then when he's trying to defend things that I don't agree with the religion, they want to put it as a misogynistic rhetoric. But there's a key point about this, and this is where I'm trying to get to. He's the founder-in-chief of the MuslimSkeptic. So now they've labeled that entity as some entity that is A, extremist, A, promotes a form of terrorism and bigotry. So this is what they're targeting, MuslimSkeptic and anything else that he has a hand on. But this is what they want to shut up, the MuslimSkeptic, not his institute, which they might get to later. Haqiqatjou has praised Hamas and the terror attacks. They highlight the word terror. So now he is being labeled as a terrorist. He has promoted 9/11 conspiracy theories, suggesting that Israel and Mossad were behind the attacks. Yes, he's promoted the truth. Why are they putting it there? Because again, signaling, right? Signaling. So they talk about his size, which is not a big size on all the other people in America. So Daniel clearly did something that was not normal. A lot of people are saying that a lot of people say that September 11 was an inside job, and that the Mossad and the Zionist state had knowledge, if not involvement in it. Okay, CIA was very well aware. The CIA will tell you we're very aware. Okay, and there's Finko, brother, it's very known that Tel Aviv is the capital of homosexualities. It's not very hard to see. When you go there, it's very clear that a lot of them are homosexual because they are the chosen people of God that don't believe in God. So they're the atheists who are God's chosen people. Let's try to wrap our head around that. But you can't say that. That's anti-Semitic. You as a Semite cannot say that. All right. So with that said, Haqiqatjou has been now in the crosshairs. Haqiqatjou right now is in a position of doing proper jihad. The reason was because he started to talk about what is in the Jewish books. He started to call out for public debates. And the platform that I showed you, Modern Day Debate, where he made the other atheists concede to his point, Jews are not there. You see Christians debating with Muslims. You see Muslims debating with atheists. You see atheists debating with Christians. And that's the group. That's the debates. Jews don't show up for debates. That's interesting. Okay, we have all this Islamophobia about the religion itself. Oh, well, these are the concepts of Islam that is not acceptable in the Western human values. This is what the Prophet said. This is what the Quran says. The Quran twisted out of context, or the whatever source they're saying that the Prophet said is either weak or crazy or out of context, or he didn't even say it, but they want to say that he said it. That's whatever. But they will go twist whatever Islam is teaching to show Islam as a negative force. And anything that you're going to say as the problem with Judaism is what they're doing in the world. But as soon as you start opening their book, right, the Talmud or the Torah, and you start to talk about it, now you need to stop. You've crossed a line that you're not allowed to cross. These other people in like the Dawah scene, they might talk about a few things about Judaism, but they have not went into the deep dive that Daniel Haqiqatjou did. Daniel Haqiqatjou did. He started to pull out information from their books showing how they are okay with pedophilia as per their books. Killing your own kids is acceptable at certain points. The way you deal with homosexuality is you throw them off of a cliff because that's how they need to be put to death. That you need to stone people who are committing fornication. That if somebody is going up against you in a certain way, especially when it comes down to your religion, genocide is completely normal. And it's not just the people, their land, their food, their economy, completely eradicate them. That you are at a level of supremacy that everyone else around you is not to your level. You are the man and a Gentile is not a man. These are all in their books, but not in their direct word. It's the interpretations of what their rabbis and scholars did, and they put them as books who are considered as, like the Sunnis would say, sahih. This is stuff that you could take from. This is Jewish scholarship. Okay, so he started to talk about that. And he started to put many articles on the MuslimSkeptic after the war of Hamas, challenging Judaism. Not Zionism, not Jewry, just Judaism. And this is where the call from the debate with David Dawood, the Jewish scholar, came in play. Because the guy felt like, wait, this man is challenging my religion. I want to stand up for my religion. And he is a person who is learnt in the Jewish religion. But then he came and pretty much said, no, Zionism is not something that we should be promoting. Or no, this is not how we handle with how people are talking to us. A proper Jew came. And the proper Jew is against what these people do. See what I'm saying? So this is what he's trying to prove. That a lot of people that are making all these claims about Islam, it's in their own books, right? It's their own books. But the Muslims who are receiving these crazy allegations about Islam, it is not the way that it's supposed to be understood. And then the scholar came and said, no, the understanding is a little different because there are stuff that is extreme that we cannot do or we don't do, or it has its place. And it's very similar to how Sunnis react. But Daniel kept going. Daniel started to talk about how Judaism used to be the worst religion instead of Islam. Judaism's punishment for homosexuality, being thrown off buildings. Is ISIS Jewish? It kind of is. Not Jewish, sorry. ISIS is Zionist. Preservation of monotheism, Islam versus Judaism. So he kept going into their books. This is a big no-no for them. But now he kept even comparing them to what is comparative to, like, even worse than Gentiles, polytheists, right? So he started to show where whatever they're taking as certain understandings is found in the Hinduism. And Hinduism is clearly something that, because it became polytheistic, they're inspired more by the devil than anything to do with the truth and God. So So that comparison as well is, to them, is completely anti-Semitic. This is completely wrong. But Daniel kept going. In Hindu mythology, he starts now talking about Hinduism, showing how this is violating the rules. But you could talk about Islam. But again, wait. Let's get back to a point. The guy of the ADL said it's about the Anti-Defamation so that there is no hate speech. And he's on a daily conversation with Twitter and all these other people. Talking about Hinduism is violating hate speech. Talking about Judaism in a certain way is violating hate speech. Talking about Islam, say whatever you want. That's not highlighted. That's completely fine. That is free speech. You say whatever you want, kid. We're not going to stop you. That's not defamation. This is you attacking our enemy, so that's fine. God and the Quran is our enemy. So to go back to what Daniel was doing online, is he kept challenging the Jewish religion. The Jewish religion. People are not biting. But to them, it is very, very, very bad when this happens. Why? Because they get to be shown who they are from the book that they have no idea what's in it. They're Jews because of ethnicity, which technically their ethnicity is Israeli. An Israeli, a child of Israel, can be a Muslim, can be a Christian, can be a Jew, can be an atheist, can be a Hindu, can be any view of religion that they want. But the child of Israel came from Israel. God clearly calls that Jesus was an example for the children of Israel. So the people who followed Jesus would still be children of Israel. God said that there's a person from the children of Israel believed on what came down to Prophet Muhammad. So God still called him a child of Israel. Okay? So the race, the ethnicity is Israeli. And Israel is Israelite. But the religion is Jew. But now the ADL and the Defamation League and APAC and all these crazy unions that came in the past, no. Israel is just Jew. Well, I'm your kryptonite then. Because me and you have the same blood. I have a Jewish last name because my ancestry. And I'm clearly a child of Israel because of the region. So what am I? Oh, well, you don't follow the religion, but you still would consider me a Jew by your definition. But of course, I'm nothing of a Jew because Abraham and Israel were not Jews. Now, you presenting this information is a bad problem. Now, Haqiqatjou even went as far as targeting the ADL in a post. This is terrible news because now he is on their radar. Okay, when you make this kind of stuff and you start tagging them, eventually they will find you. Okay, and when they find you, they start looking into you and seeing if they can use you as an example. But now I want to show you something where the history of Daniel Haqiqatjou, of him being honest to his religion, is being used against him. And whatever they want to plan, God is the best of planners. And this is a message for Daniel Haqiqatjou. Whatever they want to plan, God is the best of planners. You have to understand that right now, even if you lose everything, right, you're going to get double the reward on the day of judgment. Don't be an Elon Musk and cower down and say, well, no, now we're going to play games or shut up. And you keep going. You keep going as much as you want because this is your form of jihad at this point. And yes, you are at this point knowing that you put your family at risk, but God knows that your family is at risk, and God is the best of protectors. And God is the entity that will give you 10 times what you worked for. So there's no need to worry about what they're planning. The Prophet went through things similar to this a lot more, right? But now, why Daniel Haqiqatjou? I want to show you something that ADL put out in regards to a certain country in the Middle East. This is a country known as the United Arab Emirates. They, in a 2014 survey, put the index score of 80% red. 80% red means out of the 6,900,000 population, 5,500,000 were considered as anti-Semitic attitudes. Okay, this is in the UAE. So they ask questions like, people hate Jews because the way Jews behave. 82% said, yep. Jews are responsible for most of the world's war. 65% said, yep. Jews have too much control over the global media. 70% said, yep. Jews think they are better than other people. 68% said yes. Okay? And then Jews are more loyal to Israel than to the UAE. 79% said yes. Jews have too much power in the business world. The majority of the population said yes. Okay, so this is clearly people who are considered anti-Semitic. But now it's a very good time to launch a Menorah Center to promote regional coexistence in a country that is considered 80% on the index scale as anti-Semitic. And this 80% anti-Semitic country was accepting of this center where it's going to be used as a place to promote regional coexistence with Zionism. Not Judaism, Zionism. Okay, and this is a center in Abu Dhabi. Oh wait, what did Daniel do before? Criticize Gulf rulers. Okay, so now there's a business relationship. There's a business relationship that's not at stake, that can be used as an example. Okay, so Daniel Haqiqatjou talked about our books, which we don't know what's in it. We don't go by what's with our books. We go with the promise of God that we're God's chosen people. So we tell what to do. You don't go through our books. 2, you've been targeting anything that we've been doing in the Middle East as a way to subvert your people. That's something you're not allowed to do. You are talking about concepts that's way beyond you. It's not something that you would understand on why things need to be done the way they need to be done. We're doing it for world peace. You're doing it to incite riots and to incite violence, and you're not listening to your world leaders. So you're somebody who's clearly problematic in your own country and your own religion. So you need to be made an example out of. You need to be put to sleep. So anyone else who wants to take this road of trying to open the masses to the idea that the Jews are the ones who's running the Western media, and any attack that they have against Islam is actually present in their own books. So it's actually them, like whatever they said bad about Islam, whatever they understand of Islam is within their own books. So it's a confession. They're just being hypocrites at this point. Okay, so you can't do that. And we have a reason as well, because of our relationships of the Middle East, to completely silence you. This is why Daniel Haqiqatjou is in the light that he's in right now. It's the fact that he's talking about the truth about what's happening in the Middle East in regards to Western secularism and how the Gulf states is trying to subvert the area around it and their own population to accept nationalism, to accept secularism, to accept Western mentality, and to just paint Islam as something that is like the Christian religion, something that you can just hang it on your necklace, okay, or you put it as a tattoo. But with that said, now Daniel Haqiqatjou needs our help. Okay, this is something that I would like you to understand. This is not only for Daniel, this is for anybody who is put under a scope or under a crosshair from our common enemy. The Jewish man is not our common enemy. It is the Zionist man who is an extremist, who is against God. That is our common enemy. This is whether in the West or whether in the East. Now, how can you help? There's a form that you need to think about, that anything that you do and anything that you spend in the way of God, God understands it, God sees it, and God is the accepting of this striving. Okay, our brother right now, he is in the forefront of him getting slapped from many sides. They want to shut him down. They're going to try to cancel him. They're going to put him on lists. They're going to try to demote him. They're going to shut him down in a lot of places. You as a Muslim, you find the content that is against our enemy, not the stuff that you don't agree with, obviously. And what you do is you start promoting it. He said something about Judaism that's in their book, retweet it. He said something about a certain group of people of what's happening in Palestine with evidence and proof, copy, paste it. There's a video of him discussing with a Jewish narrative, which clearly shows that their Jewish book is telling them that you can't have a book or land, Zionism is against God. Copy, paste it. Okay, now Western media is controlling all these platforms as the ADL did, I said. And they have algorithms and systems to find these posts. But if 100 people saw your post, which to you, because of the number on the screen, it doesn't seem like a lot of people. But if you go outside and talk to 100 people, you will see how many people that is. That's actually a significant number, that you've reached out and addressed 100 people with a single post. That is not about going viral and 1 million people of seeing it, but 100 people were witnesses to what's being said. And maybe out of those 100 people, one of them or two of them will spread it some more, or they themselves would remember this information later, which would in return, hopefully bring them back to of what God wants them to do. They have bot farms automatically pumping a lot of data. You're sitting at home just watching this stuff. You're watching this programming, you're watching this propaganda, you're watching all this stuff that's constantly occurring. Okay, so what can you do to help? Start opening more accounts. Start opening up more Twitter accounts, more YouTube accounts, more Facebook accounts, and keep propagating that information that they want to shut up, that they want to demote, they want to be quiet, to put it down on TikTok, on the things that just have a feed, right? And keep promoting this information. Right now, your brother actually needs a lot of help. He needs to be put in the front runner because he's going to be martyred in a sense. He's either going to be martyred online, and in a certain situation, might be martyred, like actually gone if he keeps talking and saying certain things that he shouldn't be saying to them, but he should be saying because God is accepting. So we need to help him. We need to keep promoting this information. And this is not only for Daniel Haqiqatjou. If Candace Owens, who's a Christian, who's attacking our common enemy with words that's about them or about what they want to show themselves as, promote it, put it, pass it to your friends. She's Christian. Well, obviously we don't believe that Christ is God, right? But the information that she's saying is truth against our enemy. Use it. Norman Finkelstein, you're awesome. Thank you, Mary. This is a very good example. Promote Finkelstein's podcast. He is somebody who is very clearly a Jew, right? That they want to destroy, that they want to remove, and they want to silence him. So us as a Muslim, as a person who believes in God and understand that we have a common enemy, which are the people who call themselves Jews, not the people who went into the Jewish guidance, الَّذِينَ هَادُوا الْيَهُودِ, and Mushrikeen, the polytheists, which you could clearly see full support. So all the Indians want to go jump on the boot of the Israeli soldier, which is our clear enemy, Zionist soldier. Okay? So this is the whole podcast pretty much of what I wanted to explain to you. Daniel Haqiqatjou is being targeted because he exposed what's in the Jewish books. The Jews don't talk about their books because they understand how skewed and to them backwards is how their book is. The people who truly believe in the book, they put it on a scale where they're applying it into what God has revealed to them and what God has taught them. They understand this other stuff that is around them. They don't take it, they take it with a grain of salt, just like how a proper Muslim should do with the other external sources, but they take the book itself as truth. So he talked about the Jewish religion on what it promotes. The other thing that he did was he started to also compare Judaism with polytheism. To them, this is also a big no-no. And the third thing is they have an excuse to shut up anybody in the West that wants to talk bad about Gulf rulers trying to normalize ties with the Zionist state. So he checked multiple checkboxes where now they are trying to crucify him in the media, and to a point where he will, honestly, he needs to watch what he's saying in communication online with his private conversations, because that's going to start being monitored. Whatever business transactions and activity, he's going to get people that he's going to believe that these are clients and Muslims, but they're spies and people who are just trying to infiltrate his life, to gaslight him, to pressure him, so that he would say something that is out of line, which they'll be like, okay, up there, he said a statement that is worthy of him to go to jail, or this is a statement worthy of him to be completely removed out of online existence. To a certain level, if he keeps going to proper outside of existence. But there's a key point about murder in the Jewish religions. I can't get into much to this, but actually, I want to talk about this point. Thank you, Giovanni, for bringing it up. Yes, I understand that on a theological level, Daniel is someone who would not agree with what I have to say in regards to how I understand the Quran and how I approach prophetic hadith, which is not, I don't consider most of it prophetic hadith. I just consider it as people said history. Okay, I don't take religious guidance from other external sources other than Quran. Can I take history? Can I take certain ideas from what people wrote? Fine, I don't have a problem with that. But our understanding of Islam itself and the way we're applying Islam is very different between Daniel and me. I'm trying to teach you something as a general public. Daniel might not be accepting of me, but I have no problem being accepting to Daniel until Daniel as an individual crosses me. I have a problem with Shi'ism. I have a problem with Qaddanis. I have a problem with Sunnism. But that, just like I have a problem with Judaism, but the person in front of me, I approach as an individual, because people understand Sunnism differently. People understand Christianity differently, Shi'ism, Judaism. But if the person in front of me is somebody who is going back to God in his mind when we're having a conversation, and he's bringing up God in the conversation, I'm willing to pardon some of the inconsistencies that he's saying. Because at one point I can remind him that, like, hey bro, you're hurting me right now. I thought you fear God. And you should see him tinker in his head, you know what, yeah, God wants us to be polite with each other. So we can get along. Like, okay, yeah, we can sit here and talk about how old Aisha was. Where do we get at the end? Nowhere. There's no, I'm already set with what I know. He's set with what he believes. That's it. Let's not discuss it. But this man's a common man who's ruining our children. Whatever you believe about Aisha, yeah, that's true. Okay, can we eliminate him? And then if you want to have the conversation, we can have the conversation politely. But if a person is going to come to me with an arrogant mentality, with a Zionist mentality, I don't care if you're a Christian, you're a atheist, or a Sunni, a Shia, whatever you are. If you're going to come to me with a mentality of arrogance and you're going to put me down and insult me, then you're a clear enemy that doesn't care about his end. You don't care about the day of judgment. You don't care about how you're going to be perceived in front of God. God never gave any religion the check to take the first strike or to transgress. You see what I'm saying? Anyone who's transgressing against me, this guy doesn't believe in God. You could go through all my videos. I don't transgress against people. I try my best to hold my tongue, to show patience and stuff. And I can take a few punches from what people say. But when I want to eradicate an individual by words, I'll do that. Because the man clearly didn't see me pardoning him a few times and forgiving him. But now the enemy is very clear to you. The hypocrites are very clear to you. I don't care. The Shia hypocrites are clear. The Sunni Shia hypocrites are clear. The common enemy, whoever's abiding to the devil, this is clear. So I have no problem trying to support Haqiqatjou, even if he does not want to associate with me one bit. Never even mention me. Never even reply to me. Now, I will still keep promoting his material. Why? Because I know it hurts my opponents. I'm on a game of chess, right? Some people from my own side trying to hurt me, and the side in front of me want to hurt all of us. And God even says in the Quran, if there's two a dumb league, ADL, yeah, that's pretty true. So what I'm saying is that God says that if two believing factions that are enemies fight, then let them try to make peace with them. But if one transgresses on the other one, then suppress the one that transgressed until the peace is established. God is fully aware that there's going to be animosities between groups of believers, but we need to keep the peace. What the guy said at the beginning, what the Jews do as keeping a unified voice, even in devil worship, it still is more dominant than a segregated force. We are not devil worshippers. Some of us are hypocrites, some of us are liars, and some of us are just plain stupid, okay? And of course there's the sectarians, and you're going to have the problems of sectarians. But if a person has a little bit of fear, or a lot of fear, when the verses of God is being reminded to him, and he sits and he's willing to say, you know what, this is right, okay, fine. I might not agree with this stuff. I might take some hadith. I might not take hadith. I might love Ali more than I love Abu Bakr. Okay, but yeah, you're right. What you're saying right now, yeah, let's just keep the peace and let's focus on it. I'll work with this guy, even if it's a Christian. Even if it's a Christian coming saying, well, you guys are, you guys are a little weird. Like, obviously Jesus is the Son of God, but I do agree with you. Homosexuality is not something that should be spread into our land. I do agree that the media right now in the West, the thing that is being promoted is all things that are got nothing to do with God, that they're giving us a devil idea that the children shouldn't sit there and wonder about transgenderism at a young age, and race theory maybe is getting a little bit out of hand, and maybe we're trying to be more politically correct and we're not mentioning God. And I'll work with that Christian. That man's clearly fine. I would work with David, the person that was on the podcast. This is what Islam truly is. This is what I understand Islam is. People say, oh, well, you Quranists, which I'm not a Quranist, you guys all have different interpretation. Well, yeah, we have different interpretation because unfortunately, in history, a lot of people were not able to produce the material that they came to conclusion. Because just like how the ADL wanted to silence people and remove their publications, this was happening with other religions all over the world. The publications was in the hands of the government. If your publication in Saudi Arabia was not aligning with Wahhabism at a certain point, your book is not getting published. So no matter what you wrote is went into history. Now, because of the internet, our movement is catching again. This movement existed in the time of Mu'tazilism and before that. Not saying that they rejected the word of the Prophet. No, they rejected the crazy ideologies that you brought and you said that the Prophet said this. That's the simple fact. Okay? So I haven't been, as you can see, I'm not sitting there trying to talk about my understanding of the Quran. Because this is my interpretation, and if I'm applying the interpretation correct, then my world starts to open up in front of me by what God is allowing. Because if I am somebody who's spreading falsehood, as God said, they will not flourish. They will not succeed. Okay? And if you think they're succeeding, you'll see the people around them that are agreeing with them, who's giving them a platform, they're all idiots. They're all crazy in their head. There is no discussion. They don't care about God. They're just a devil who is collecting more devils and then they lose in the end. But the person who's talking about Islam in a certain way, and you could see my platform, this is all by my Lord. I cannot even imagine it. I went from having like a few hundred subscribers to 20,000 subscribers and a video with 2 million views, 3 million views, just because I know what I'm doing is for God. Have I ever asked for a subscriber? Have I ever asked anyone for a donation? My channel's not monetized. I'm doing this for God. I would love, and this making me emotional, for the Muslim community to come back with all its colors and all its interpretations as one community, because that's how it's been from the very first go after the Prophet. Just look at the book of Tabari, the explanation, the exegesis of Tabari. For many verses, he will tell you, like, these people had this interpretation for this verse. These people had this interpretation for this verse. These people have this interpretation for this verse, and I have my interpretation. So there was obviously room for people to interpret. But this has been stripped away from you. Why? So that the government tells you what to think. Okay, now the government is clearly in bed with the devil. The government is clearly in bed with Zionism. So Zionism is saying, oh, you know what? Here, I'll show you the slideshow one more time. The picture that I want to show you. What's Zionism saying? This is what we want in your Islamic books. Well, I don't want your interpretation. Okay, then I'm going to kill you. I'm going to cancel you. I'm going to remove you from existence. Like, that's why I realized it's not an error. It's most people do not want to accept your interpretation because they have not witnessed it. You can help people by the words of God guiding them. I cannot guide you. I can tell you that when God says that he created the skies and the heavens, and then he placed himself on a throne, I don't think that is physical. I think the word istawa has a certain interpretation that means that now he's controlling it. Okay, you might say, well, I don't see it that way. Okay, fine. That's fine. But the way you see it, go apply in your world. I've seen a lot of support from Shias to Hamas. Am I going to sit there and go, well, you guys insult the wife of the Prophet. I'm not going to work with you. And I'm going to go online and I'm going to start to put them down. Then I'm helping the Zionist. I'm helping the Zionist 100. If I'm not going to, if I'm going to sit there and start talking about Hezbollah and call him Hezbollah like Shamsi wants to do, then I'm a criminal. I'm a loser. I'm promoting and tell my servants to say that is the best. The devil wants to cause discord between us. Oh well, who did you get your religion from? Did you get it from Imam Ali or did you get it from Abu Bakr? Neither of them. I don't need them. Well, what do you mean you don't need them? These are the Sahaba. Yeah, they have whatever they've done, and whatever they've done, they'll see on the Day of Judgment. But this is what I'm entitled with. This is what I've been given. So whatever information you're giving me, I can say, do it here. If you give me a quote saying that Imam Ali said something that I find a trace in it in the Quran, that's an amazing quote. I like that mentality. I like that interpretation of what he had that I could see in the Quran. But then if you're going to come tell me that Moses came, punched the angel of death, I'm going to say you're crazy for believing something like that. That's crazy. Oh, well, now are you against hadith? No, I'm not against hadith because Quran is hadith. What we're doing right now is hadith. Oh, this is what the Prophet said. This is stupid talk. I'm sorry, but this is useless talk. This is this divisive talk. You're going to divide the community by you saying this. You want to believe it, believe it. You're going to put down someone who's doing the same, who's believing in the same thing you are as a core essential, and then you're going to sit there and label them things? Of course you should help Daniel Haqiqatjou, despite Daniel Haqiqatjou being very harsh in his interpretation. He is being targeted with our enemy. He's being targeted by our clear enemy. Even if you don't agree with him, he's your brother. I have a brother, I have a younger brother. Me and him never saw eye to eye. No, actually we see the eye to eye a lot, but we didn't always see eye to eye. There's times we got into physical altercations of how bad we are. But God, if God knows, if someone put a hand on my brother out of oppression that my brother didn't warrant, I would go at that person with everything I can to get back the right of my brother. Haqiqatjou and me Daniel and me might have a huge debate and a huge discussion on how you should interpret traditionalism in Islam and what Islam truly is and how Islam is supposed to have its Arabic values. Well, I can say that it's a universal religion. And then but then if someone comes and wants to slap Daniel, I'm going to slap the person who slapped Daniel. That's what a brother is. Like, I would say, oh, Shias are still Muslims, we love them, but they are not as-sirat al-mustaqim. You don't know that. But you, on the other hand, as a Sunni, I could say the same about you. But you take the sirat al-mustaqim that you want to talk about, Pakistan, and you apply it on the individual. What's the sirat al-mustaqim? Does the word of God influence the person in front of you in a situation? That person is showing that he's on a sirat al-mustaqim. Is he willing to change things so that people are feeling better in what's around them, or does he want to cause more problems? If he wants to do islah, he wants to fix things for people, he's on a sirat al-mustaqim. Part of it. The Quran is very binary in nature. Our religion, when it's presented to you, it's binary. God said that he brought down the book and he brought down the scale, mizan, so that people would be able to judge accordingly. There's nobody on earth right now that is 100% on Sirat al-Mustaqim, and there's nobody on the earth right now that's 100% kafir. There is a scale in between them. So when people are doing things that are showing belief and belief, the more that they're doing that, that's more a person that I'm inclined to. But if someone is showing more signs of hypocrisy than faith, then I'm going to avoid this hypocrite because God told me to. That's the truth about the religion. That's what religion means. Okay? So, thank you, Salam. I keep seeing your bullseye. So, I want for people to understand the technology that's in your hand is not under your control. The ADL are a very strong entity that is a Western entity that is filtering a lot of what's happening. My channel got demoted very quickly as soon as I started talking about Zionism. Why? Because that's a program. That's how it's programmed. But the more you do your part and you keep spreading it, despite it being demoted, the more people that will come and see it. And our brother now needs as much help as he can get. I'm going to show you really quick, just to wrap up. Daniel's posts right now. He is, well, he knows probably what's coming. But he could see that how a lot of people are standing up for him. Because people understand the importance of standing up to him. Okay? So we need to do this. And I don't know who Luis M. Hernandez is, but he's praying to Allah. I don't know if he's a Sunni. I don't know if he's a Shia. I don't know who Ram is. I don't know these people. But this is showing brotherhood. So do the same, guys. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not let your hands be the cause of your own destruction. Shia beat themselves. Who cares? Brother, if that's what the guy wants to do and beat himself, he's going to get the delusions of whatever he did. I'm not going to go around and beat myself for Hassan. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. If a Shia person is doing that, then whatever result of delusions he will get for that action, he will get. You understand me? An atheist can go adopt a child. Whatever benefits you get for adopting a child, that will be also given to you. Because God is the truth. God is not harsh. So despite the person not believing in God, God still feeds him. Okay, so if a Shia wants to beat himself and say Islam, I'm going to say no, this is not Islam, and I would avoid him, that Shia person. But if somebody attacks his community saying that I'm going to eradicate you because you believe in God, in the God of Abraham, and I want to genocide you, I need to be there with him because he's still passing this book to people. Perfect example, Daniel Haqiqatjou. He was a Shia, okay? He changed into Sunnism. Why? Because of what is being propagated within the Muslim community. You understand me? But if somebody comes and starts to kill all the Sunnis and I don't defend them, that is a possibility of somebody not learning what the Quran is. Who knows, maybe in the future, right? Because of whatever Daniel does, some man converts to Sunnism, finds my videos or finds somebody else's videos, and then becomes a believer and just adheres to what the guidance is from the Quran. Well, Haqiqatjou is going to get a benefit. Why? Because he was the stepping stone to introduce that man to the Quran. How many reverts nowadays, and trust me, there's plenty, where they are seduced by the words of the Quran by a da'i. Okay, they look, wow, this book is amazing. I love this book. This book has a lot of answers. And then all of a sudden, after they take their shahada, they're bombarded with all of this other stuff. They're like, wait, this is not what I signed up for. And then they see our movement. And then they see, wait, this makes more sense to me. But do you think that the da'i that introduced them to the book in the first place is just getting nothing out of it? No. So we need them. Not need them, but we can use them. Use them. They're your brother in faith to a certain level. Please, guys, this is the time we have to get back together as a colorful community. We're not going to be one color. We're not going to be one aqidah. We're not going to be one ideology. We're not going to be one interpretation, because this was never the case. Okay? The Prophet would have interpreted verses. The man next to him would have interpreted them differently because of the environment and the understanding of that person. Okay? So to sit there and to think that we're all going to be unified under one interpretation is not going to be the case. Okay? But we have to apply the verses of God and bridge our differences. The differences we can't bridge, leave them on the day of judgment. Oh, people of the book, let's come to a common word between us. To believe in one God, to not associate with anything with God, and to not to take each other as lords. Okay? And if they turn around, just say that, like, look, man, you can testify that I believe in this book and I follow it, right? Okay. So he testified that I'm a Muslim. Well, he might say it's all this other stuff. I don't care at that point. But there's some people who are willing to work with you. Work with them. You guys have any questions? Stay with the truth and justice. And thank you. Honestly, thank you for you guys joining into my stream. I don't know how long it's been today. About an hour and a half, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, I will try to answer them. Certain questions about theology, I'll just give you the gist of it. But yeah, bombard me with your questions. I'm going to start. Those who enjoy hearing that morality has spread among the believers will have a painful punishment both in the world and the hereafter. God knows and you do not know. Sadaqallah. This is a quote by Mary Joy. Earlier, I left Islam because of hadith. Nothing made sense, too much contradictions, but Allah brought me back to Quranism. Alhamdulillah, Zahir. And this is something that I keep constantly seeing. Because honestly, like even in the last 20 years, because of Zionist pressure, the way hadith has been being propagated is on a new level that has not reached before. So like my parents, for example, in the country they grew up with, they didn't really know what Bukhari and Muslim was. I didn't know what Bukhari and Muslim was. The book that they used was called the 40 Hadith of Nawawi. That's what was being taught. 40 hadiths. That's it. So we had 40 hadiths, right? And in the Quran. And that's where most of the instructions came from. Like I honestly, like, I didn't know what Bukhari and Muslim was till much later in my life, because it's not something that we talked about or something that we understood. But they're still Sunni, and it's a major country. It's a big country in the Middle East. So, but this is now in the last 30 years or 40 years, because of online media and because of governments paying a lot of money, the stressing of Bukhari and Muslim became very important, so that I can keep you subjugated, because that's where defend the ruler comes from. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Pozdrav. I'm not sure what that is. Pozdrav Balim. Okay, so I'm not sure what language that is. I'm gonna say that it's not Albanian, because there's usually a syllable. Pozdrav. Is that Bosnian by any chance? Let me see. I'm gonna Google these words. Finko. I'm gonna guess that Finko is Bosnian. Allahu A'lam. Translate. Let me see. Detect language. Hello, which is Croatian. Okay, so it's close. I was close. Bosnian. Okay, alhamdulillah. Cool. I think you guys say Bog for God, right? It's similar to what the Russians say. Aidemi Mohammed. That's pretty much what I remember of Serbian. And I know, like maybe a little bit of Bosnian, Croatian, and yes, the Serbian language. But I find it good that all this hadith attacking has come forth, because the problem will be maybe fixed. Yes, so a lot more people are waking up. How does he not see my comments? I did see your comment, but they were a little bit late. Hey man, thank you for being, I appreciate it. Muslim from Bosnia. Salam, brother, peace. Sorry, I just didn't, I was still scrolling through. I get really, Bakir Muhammad views Daniel as a brother, but would Daniel view Muhammad as his brother? No. But that's irregardless to me, because on the battlefield, he's not going to shoot me. You see what I'm saying? If it's actual battlefield and we have a common enemy, he might not work with me. I might help him, but I'm not, again, like, it depends on the individual. This is something that you need to be. Giovanni, thank you for your response and being honest despite the differences, because they wouldn't do the same to you. Yeah, that's fine. Christians wouldn't do the same as well. But obviously, like, in the history, yeah, I see your comments too, Sanam. Your last stream was good on Andrew Tate. Appreciate it, Mary. I have a few more ideas that I have to do, and honestly, it's just, I go by what God is inspiring me in the moment. So this was a very impromptu stream, but I think it's very important. My whole purpose, I'll keep saying this every stream, inshallah, if God reminds me. My whole purpose is to bridge the community, and the more bridging that we do, the less falsehood will start spreading around. So you recognize the hypocrites, you deal with the hypocrites, and the differences, you keep trying to tell the people, like, God is telling us to leave the differences to the day of judgment. And God said that those that are like, their hearts are spread out, those are people that don't understand. That the humans used to be one community. And God guides whom he wants, and he misguides whom he wants. If you cannot be if you don't want to be a single community, you're misguided. You understand that? Like, if you do not want to be a single community, as per the verses of God, you are misguided. You can see this clearly in the surah, I believe, I'll tell you the name of the surah. Just give me 1 second. It's the one after Mujadala, I think. God is saying that their hearts are spread or separated because they are people that don't know. So the people that know keep their hearts singular. Like they stay on a singular mission. Saf, Surah As-Saf, chapter 61. Yeah. So a lot of Sunnis ask, where do you find Quran? How do you pray? Okay, so I'll talk about the prayer. You, as a person, you are ordered to pray. God gave us the instructions of the ablution, wudu in the Quran, but he did not give us the instructions of the salah. Now, there's no problem to pray just like how the Sunnis pray, but you would not say the things that are opposing to the Quran. So when they say certain words, you don't need to say those, because those are clearly not what God is. So Sami'a Allahu liman hamida. God listens to whom says he praises to. Well, in absolute truth, I wouldn't use the word Sami'a, because they say, oh, it's not about listening, it's about God responds, because God listens to everything. God hears. God is the hearing, right? So when you're saying that statement, they mean a different word, but the word that's being used is not accurate. So if God said that in the Quran, Inna Allah yasma'u liman hamida, God listens to who praises him, then that means God does not listen to who doesn't praise him. But they'll say, yeah, that's not what it means. It means that God responds to the people who's, okay, then say the word responds. But even that statement, God responds to who praises him, is not accurate. Because God responded to the devil when the devil didn't praise him, and then the devil said, I don't want to be servient to Adam. And he goes, okay, well then get out, you're banished and exiled. And he goes, God, please let me stay around till the day of judgment. God goes, yeah, you can stay around till the day of judgment. That means God listened to him, God answered him, God responded to him, and the devil was not praising at that point. The devil's actually a devil at that point. Iblis was a devil at that point. So that statement itself is not correct. So you could even pray, well, I do, I'm not saying, I pray behind, and when they say, Sami Allahu liman hamida, I say, Sami Allahu li kulli shay. God answers, God listens to everything. Okay, and then certain words that they're saying, even in their own books, it shows that there's no consistency. So now how do I pray? I stand, I prostrate, I bow, and I talk to God. But the point of the prayer, the actual point of the prayer, is to recite the verses of God, is to say the opener, right? The Fatiha, and to pick a chapter and read the chapter while you're standing dedicated to God. No distractions, nobody, just focusing and reading the verses in that ritual state. That ritual state brings you closer to your Lord, because you are now completely dedicating your time to him, not sitting comfortably, not watching TV and all that. Now, how do we treat mutawatir hadith? Most mutawatir hadith, Rooney, the mutawatir hadith do not have religious, they don't have religious instructions. They are wisdom. Okay, so they are based on wisdom that is found in the Quran. So the last third of the night, you should stand in prayer, because at that point, God is more forgiving at any times. Okay, the point about forgiving and more forgiving, I don't need to accept that. But God told me to stand the night in prayer. And he said 2/3 of the night. Okay, now thinking about it, God is also instructing me in one of the verses, in a certain interpretation, to sleep after the evening prayer. So I should sleep the first third of the night, and then as much as I can from the last 2/3 of the night for me to pray until before Fajr to sleep again. That's the most mutawatir hadith. Hello Roxanne, how are you? But anyway, so when it comes back to the prayer, you should dedicate yourself in that moment to really understand and think about the words of God. So the nice part about which happens in Ramadan is when the Sunnis do their, they call it Taraweeh, but its actual classical name is Salatul Qiyam. Salatul Qiyam is the prayer that you do at night. So they could do it right after their fifth prayer, Isha prayer, or they could do it at 12 o'clock at night, and some people even do it at, so they might do it like I believe in Mecca and Aqsa, certain times they'll do it at 12 o'clock at night. So you can sit there and honestly just stand with them and just concentrate on the word of God. That's if you're an Arabic speaker. And you understanding the words of God, when you're hearing them, you relate them to yourself, you relate them to your to your surroundings. You might have a thought, and then the verse is answering you. Prayer is amazing. Like prayer is amazing. And then when you're prostrating, you get the opportunity to really be grateful for what you have. You get the opportunity to really exalt God, to think about how amazing God is, and whatever idea you know of what God is. He knows everything. He's in the future, he's in the present, and then you can even magnify him more. But at the same time, there's not a single reality that can exist that God already didn't know. Sorry, I'm cutting out again. Hey, can you guys hear me? I think, okay, so cool, it's back. So can we please, I agree with Quran alone, but I pray, I tell you, most of the time, I have, if I'm praying with people who are adhering just to the Quran, if they have a style that is matching with the Quran, I'll follow their style. Okay, and I let the person lead the prayer, do the way they're leading it. Me on my own, I follow more of what the Sunnis do, but I don't say what the Sunnis say. So I will stand with the Fatiha. I will read as much as I can from a chapter, all a full chapter. I would prostrate. I would think about God and I would exalt God a lot. I would stand up without saying Sami Allahu liman hamida. I'll say Allahumma Rabbana lakal hamdu wa lakal shukr. God, you have the you have the praise and you have the thanks to you as well. And then I will prostrate. I will talk to God in the moments of prostration, or I will just exalt him. And then when they do their tashahud after the second rak'ah or the second unit, I would say, for example, I'll say in Arabic and translate Tahiyatu lillahi wa salawatu wa salamu ala nabiyyin, like salutations to God and peace and blessings on all the prophets. Tahiyatu lillahi wa salawatu wa salamu ala nabiyyin wa ibadullahi salihin, and God's rightful or righteous servants, ibadullahi salihin, wa awliya Allah, and the allies or the allies of God. And then I say ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. There are no deities except God, who has no equal. God give victory to the, I'm praying here, God please give victory to the believers. God please assist the believers. And God please increase the angels, because I want to pray for the angels a little bit. And then I would say Surah Al-Kursi, right? Subhanallah, la ilaha illahu, Subhanallah, la ilaha illahu, la ilaha illa anta, hayyul qayyum. But yeah, sometimes I say it to God directly. Subhanallah, la ilaha illahu, hayyul qayyum, la ta'khidahu sinatun wa la nawm. I'll say that, and then I'll say a verse from Surah Al-Imran. God, we heard a person calling towards Iman, so I believe, or towards the faith, so I believed. So God, please remove me from the punishment of hell and remove of me my sins and let me die with the righteous. And yeah, help me on the day of judgment. You do not break your promises. And then finally, I would say the last three verses of Surah Safat. Subhana Rabbi Rabbil Izzati amma yasifun. Salamun ala al-mursalin. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. I just end the prayer with Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Okay. Now, when it comes to the taslim part, I don't say taslim, but if I am praying with Sunnis, I'm going to say salam to the person next to me. Okay. So I say salam to the person next to me. So Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The Sheikh said Salaam alaikum, so I reply the Sheikh Salaam alaikum as well. And if there's a guy next to me to the left, he would have said Salam to me, so I would have replied. But if there's nobody to my left, I would not say nothing. But if I'm on the right and there's nobody on my right, then I would just say Salam to the Sheikh that said it, the Imam. I would say it to the person left to me. That's not only from what I understood, but technically that's what the Malikis do, the Madhab al-Maliki. So there's traces to what I interpreted it. Awesome. That's cool. Now, I believe my other brother, Islam Channel USA. How you doing, brother? How you doing, Charlie? What's your take on breaking the fast at night? Like it says in the Quran, versus how Sunnis break it at evening. Had to fix the typos. Okay, so brother, to me, there's in the Arabic, Salamun hiya hatta matla' al-fajr. This is in Laylatul Qadr, the Surah Qadr, where it's peace, peace, not until, peace, peace until the Fajr shown. So you have to be in Fajr for hatta to be like fulfilled. Because if God said Salamun hiya ila matla' al-fajr, so peace to it or peace within it, until the raising of dawn, it means that I don't need to really be in dawn, but just at the limit of dawn for it to mean that I've reached my destination. Hatta means it's inclusive. Ila means it's just at the edge. It does not need to be inclusive. Now God said وَأَتِمُّ الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. God said, the word here used is ila. It's not hatta. If he said وَأَتِمُّ الصِّيَامَ حَتَّى اللَّيْلِ, then you have to be in the darkness of the night for you to break your fast, which would be after what they would call Isha. But because he used ila, that means you have to reach the limit of night. Now, how can we understand when that is? You have to go to chapter 36, right? Where God says, from the night, we strip away from it the day, so they are in darkness. So the stripping of the day is part of the night, because he said from the night. So from the night, we strip the day, so they are in darkness. So as soon as the day starts being stripped, that is technically night. But you would not call that night until they're completely in darkness. But that's technically part of night. You have night and day present when they're merging. So God said to the night. So right after sunrise, when you start seeing the black on the sky, like wherever the opposite of where the sun sets, that technically to me is when I would break my fast. So it can vary between 10, 20 to 30 minutes. But just to be on the safe side, I would pray my prayer, which is about 20 or 30 minutes, and then I'll go break my fast. I'll start with water, okay? So, but people might have different interpretation. Am I gonna fault you? No, because if you're gonna break it at the darkness of night, okay, you still fulfill the verse. If you don't break your fast, then you're in trouble because God told you to break your fast. If you break it and it's not supposed to be at sunset, this is how I understood, or if it's not supposed to be at sunset, but on the onset of night, this is how I understood it. I'm being honest with myself, and on the day of judgment, my Lord is very forgiving and merciful. This is my ability and my cognitive ability and my understanding of the language, where this is the interpretation that I received only by the permission of God, but it does not mean that this is what God has ordered. But this is my capability, and God is very well aware of that. So this is what I'm going to be judged with. I'm not going to be judged like the person who got $1 million. I'm going to be judged with what I was given. So I'm not going to be judged as if I am the master of the Arabic language. I'm going to be judged with what I understood of the Arabic language, being honest to myself. If I'm presented with information that I am wrong, and I could see and believe this information, that I would be a criminal to keep doing what I'm doing. Okay, so sorry. Okay, what's the appointed times for Salat? This is by Mario Manis. Assalamu alaikum. What is your view? Sorry, let me just go back up to see if I missed something. Sorry, you guys are asking a lot of amazing questions. So this is Islam. Wondering your view in Ramadan, places where the sun never sets, Arctic Circle. Why has God not addressed this? God technically did address this, because there's now two concepts. One, the sun, the moon is signifying Ramadan. So if the sun is always out, you're not gonna see the month. Two, that area is not supposed to be inhabitable. It's very difficult to inhabit this, and it's gonna be closer to places in Russia, Iceland, and the north of Canada. This is usually the only areas, and then in the south, this is not something that occurs because no one's living in Antarctica. So the verse is kind of being clear that if you can't see the month, then you haven't witnessed the month, you're not gonna pray. And if the sun is there for multiple days, right, then you also did not witness the month. So there is a leeway there, but this is as far as I can get there because I haven't been there. I have not been there. Okay. So prayer, Lord Jesus. Okay, I'm not praying that. What's your take on breaking fast? I read that. I am from India. When we pray 99%, what we are saying. Yes. So Abdullah, one important thing is that you need to understand what's being said from the Quran. It is very good to read the Quran in Arabic, to practice the Arabic and try to see as much of what the language is saying. But in your prayer by yourself, you should open a book where it has the translation and read the translation. You can put the transliteration, so you would read it in Arabic, but make sure you're reading a translation that you have asked, and make sure that it's concise, very concise with what the Quran says. And yes, you need to understand what is being said. So the translation for you is something that you should constantly be reading in your prayer. Arabic is nice to memorize. It's nice to know what the person, or to be part of that congregational prayer, but to you it's not really helpful because you're not concentrating on the word of God. You're not praying upon the word of God, nor are you able to connect because you have no idea what's saying. So you on your own at this point, you should start establishing a way so that you are reading the book in your language, okay? And you should start working on learning Arabic because that's the closest point to the truth. Okay, what would you recommend for non-Arabic speaking folks? Use your language's translations. If there isn't a proper translation, work on one. Work on one on certain verses and keep reading them. Okay, this is all form of jihad, by the way. These are all striving. If you really want the word of God, but at this day and age, it's very clear that you have translations. Salam, bro. Salam. Assalamu alaikum. What is your view on jihad by force to rule the earth with Quran? Should we striving to do this? Okay, so when it comes to attrition, war of attrition, it should always be defensive. We should always go out and introduce our religion until we're being attacked upon. Then at that point, then you should use the sword and you should eliminate the threat. That's the simple thing. But should we go out with a war of attrition and try to take over? It depends on the situation, i.e. if the other people are already like enemies to you. I would not ever I would not say that the first step should be strike first. In certain situation, you might need to strike first, but this is a very niche situation where you shouldn't ever consider that. Just this is as far as I'm going to say about this. But yeah, no, you cannot force the rule of the Quran. The only thing that you could do is become you're a ruler, community ruler. You become a leader, and you as a assigned leader by the grace of God, by the permission of God, and by the acceptance of people, you yourself start to put your interpretation of the Quran. Any leader can do that. No, fasting time now. Salam. That's where I don't agree with you. What are the appointed times of Salah? So to me, there's 3 times that are appointed to Salah, and then there's about 7 times of Tasbih. The way that you do Tasbih should be in a similar fashion you should do Quran, or you should do your Salah. But at the same time, like if you upgrade the times of Tasbih to Salah, there's no harm in it. So obviously Fajr, dawn, is a time of prayer. This is an actual time of prayer. And then after the rising of the sun all the way to noon, there's a spot here for Tasbih. You should take some time dedicated to Tasbih. And then noon is a time of Tasbih as well, except on your day of congregation, it would become a prayer. And then from the time of afternoon all the way to sunset should be a time of Tasbih again. And then sunset all the way to evening is a time of prayer. That's your second actual prayer. And then a time of Tasbih after that, which would be at the start of the first evening, the first third of the evening. That's like also a window. You sleep and then you do your third prayer, which is praying throughout the night. So it's technically 7 times of Tasbih, 3 of them are overlapping with a prayer. That's how I understand it. No, brother, I think the prayer means good salat. Yeah, that's an interpretation I don't take. Is this live? Yes, it is, Nabil. Nice to talk to you, brother. It's okay to be a hadith skeptic, but outright rejecting every single hadith is kind of weird. I can understand what you're saying. Yeah, if the hadith is accept or aligning with the Quran, this makes thanks, Nabil. This makes this can make sense, but this is where it becomes a lie. To say that the Prophet said these words verbatim, this is where I will not accept it. Okay, you need to clip all these answers as separate video. That's awesome stuff. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, brother. You meant to follow the next country closest. I think that's got to do with your the interpretation for Ramadan. If that's how you want to do it, whatever you present to God, God is accepting, and God is repenting, and God is forgiving. If this is how you want to fulfill the verse to God because of what circumstances and environment that you've been put in, God is accepting. Remember this, okay? God is not a cop as we've been taught as a kid. Oh, well, if you raised your finger that way and that way, or the top of your butt showed a little bit in your prayer because your pants slipped, that's it, your whole prayer is invalidated, then cop is a very strict, draconian cop. I don't think my God's like that. If I pull my pants up and my intention was not to show my butt, then I think I can carry on with my prayer. I don't need someone to tap my shoulder and be like, hey, bro, you have to start your prayer again. Just leave me alone. But salam, is boxing haram according to the Quran? Okay, so boxing as training for war is not haram. Boxing for money, what I would consider as something that is not something you should do. I'm not going to say the word haram, okay? Because haram is haram to me is if you do it, you go to hell, okay? So there's some things that are despised. Let's say that they're not nice. But if you do them, it does not automatically mean that you're going to hell. But if you do them with pride and you constantly keep doing them and changing them, then you go to hell. Because your error overtook you and it became who you are, and this is how you think with that specific error. But the word haram means that if you did it now, this is enough evidence for you to go to hell. That's why the word haram is very dangerous. Now, I've wanted to go professional for a while, but if it transgresses against God, what's your understanding according to the Quran? Any verses? Yeah, you can't transgress against people. So transgressing against people for just money at this point, then it's not a sport. You can hurt the person. You're not intending to hurt the person. You're not intending to break his face. You're not intending to break his neck. But that's a risk that you're taking only for the due of money. So you're doing it for money at this point. But there's nothing wrong with sparring with somebody in regards to preparation for war, because God said to the Prophet, prepare the people for fighting. So we need to prepare ourselves for fighting. Martial arts is amazing for that. Sparring is good for that. Going into the professional sense and punching people in the faces and shoulders and stuff, I personally wouldn't do that because I know I would be in a chance to harm the person or harm myself. And at that point, I would not be able to fulfill my obligations to God if I get paralyzed if someone hits me in a certain way. That's to answer your question, soul music. This is all by measurement, right? So there isn't a verse directly saying that you can't punch somebody, but it's saying do not transgress against somebody and do not throw your hands into destruction. So at that point, I'm literally destroying the person in front of me just for money again. And it could be a Muslim brother at that point. It's okay, yeah, this is live. Yes, akhi. What about keeping dogs in the house? You can keep dogs in the house. There's no, like the people in the cave kept the dog with them in the cave. This whole concept of dogs and crows and snakes actually comes from Zoroastrian, like the old Persian, I can't say that name, Zoroastrian religion, where they were very skeptical of crows, dogs, and snakes. Okay, so those hadiths were given by a certain understanding that I can get into later. But yeah, you can keep dogs in the house. That's not a problem. Feeding a dog is actually you helping God's, like you, the dog is being fed by God by your hands. So you're getting favors. The dog is in a better environment being in your house than it is just in the wild. Of course, God feeds it and God gives it water. But if you are part of that process, you're doing good for the world and the environment. God has taught us how to domesticate almost all forms of the animals around us in the mammal kingdom, from all the way bigs to elephants, all down to like a tiny squirrel and gerbil. We're able to domesticate and train them, right? So that we can live with them in a way where they are also well provided for. Not only no human should go to bed hungry, no animal should be struggling in this day and age. And we shouldn't have animals hitting the levels and the brinks of extinction because of our own actions. In fact, we should be able, if humanity was normal, like this is psychological, if humanity was normal, we should have absolutely no problem, okay, with us being in cities, and the cities designed in a way where you would pass lions, tigers, giraffes, and all sorts of wildlife, because that wildlife at a young age have been imposed on the human, and they understand that humans are just like part of it, and they get domesticated in a way where their wild nature is gone, right? Because now they know where they need to go and do their toilet business. Now they know where to go to get food. Now they know to get water. So they're trained to do that. And then we are now taking care of the animals, and the animals are also assisting us at this point. But this is different. This is just like, my own. Okay, one thing I'm wondering, I'm reading the Holy Quran, but I'm not finding, what do you think something bad because I wanted to get tattooed? Okay, Mario, as you see, I do have a tattoo. I regret it. I wish I never got it. Because one, yes, you could say that this is a form of decoration rather than changing the creation of God, but you are changing the creation of God. The things with decoration, me decorating my body, I can remove that decoration and I'm back to how God has created me. But with this tattoo, I cannot remove it except by putting 3 or 4 times the money. So I have changed what God has created on purpose just as a decoration. Now, why do I regret it? One, the tattoo itself used to mean a lot to me back in the day when I got it. But now it has very little meaning. And if I could have guided God by God's word, if I could have helped 10 people reach the word of God, I might lose 1 or 2 just because I've had a tattoo. See what I'm saying? It's just the negative imagery behind it that I wouldn't recommend. Because there's a lot of people around me that, there's a lot of clips that were like, oh, well, why should I listen to you if you have a tattoo? You're clearly going to hell. That's the crazy part. I wouldn't recommend getting a tattoo. Is it something that you would consider as haram? I would say that this is the devil trying to tell you to decorate yourself and decorate your deeds and changing the creation of God. Okay? There's certain times where the tattoo is not in a form of decoration, but it's actually surgical. I don't want to get into too much detail, but the person needs a tattoo to hide something on their body. That's different. Some people need Botox to fix a problem there. That's fine. But if someone's going to put lip fillers and change his lips, that person's clearly buying into the world. I was technically buying in the world. Why? Because I wanted to decorate myself. Whatever memory the tattoo gives you, that memory will constantly be with you, and it's not reminding you at a certain time or a certain later. Okay, absolutely. Awesome, X. Watching from Ghana. I love how you and Baba Shuaib enlightening the masses. Salam. Yeah, salam to you and salam to Baba Shuaib as well. And yeah, you know, Baba Shuaib is an excellent individual. He has his views. I also have my views, but he is striving in the way of God. I might not do how he do things. My intention isn't to make money with boxing. That's not why I started. I thought that's what you meant by professional. And the money I would make would go towards a good cause, not materialism. It does not justify it. And we're both consenting. Would you still condemn? It's not about condemning. It's not something that I would do. It's not about condemning. This is between you and your Lord. So Muhammad Ali, the boxer, he influenced generations of people to lead them to Islam and the Book of God because of that action. Okay, he himself did not see an error in it. He did a lot of good within it. Habib Nurmagomedov is also another good example where he is almost the person who is the icon of UFC for a very long time, for many generations, because of his attitude as a Muslim. So God has brought a lot of people, a lot of good of him fighting, okay? But he himself will tell you this is not something that you should be doing. Why? Because it's not something that is pleasing to my Lord, but I took it into a way to try to please my Lord. This is very similar with music. I think your name is Soul Music, yeah. And this is, for me, music is something that people technically should avoid because there's a lot of emotional manipulation with music if the source is coming from somebody who's negatively manipulating you. But if the music is about God and glorifying God, then the music is good. But should I tell everybody, oh, you should go start making music? No, you should concentrate on the Quran. You should try to put the music melodies in the Quran. That makes it more pleasing for the hearing. And then people will go, oh, no, you can't do that. They do that. There's something called maqamat, musical modes in Arabic. There's about 7 of them that they put in the recitations. And if you go to certain places in certain mosques, it's actually, especially in Mecca, in the Haram, the person has to know some of these maqams because that's how they put them there. The person that doesn't have maqams, they're not really featured and highlighted. So that's that. Brother, if you live in the USA, I'd like to meet you. Mario, I don't live in the USA. I cannot indulge too much where I'm at, but yeah, I'm not in the West. I used to be in the West. What do you think about sihr? Sihr is real. Magic is real. I got a tattoo. May Allah forgive me. I was young, but I'm not ashamed of it. It's only my name in Arabic. I say don't do it too. Awesome. We don't need to ignore Salat mentioned in 1187 to please people. Okay? Yani. Any other question, guys? Because I would like to... I am fasting in this month, Salam. What is exactly fasting according to your interpretation? No eating, no drinking, no sexual relationships, and trying to be as pious in God in that moment. So trying to cut away from whatever things that you don't need, excessiveness. Keeping dogs in the house. Any other question, guys? Bro, how can I gift you? There's no method. Yeah, Nabi, I apologize, brother. I don't accept it. I do this completely for Lord. If you want to gift whatever you want to give me, give it to somebody who needs it. Because alhamdulillah, I'm well provided for. I have my parents and my brother. They help me if I need it. I have my job when I need money. And then I have my believing brother and sister. They've got my back. I don't ask for money on purpose. I don't want nobody's money. How sure are they their tasbih and not prayers? Because God, God calls them times of tasbih. He said tasbih. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا. So God is saying, like, for example, this is one of them, like, praise your Lord before the rising of the sun and before it's set. Yes, so that's one. And then there's one in regards to وَحِينَ تَظْهَرُونَ. So it's like it's like when you're within noon. So there's a few verses talking about tasbih that when you put them together, you would have. Would love to see someone actually have a genuine conversation with you on these topics. Unfortunately, brother, people are very sealed off in this day and age, and because they have sectorized themselves and they cut themselves in and put themselves in a box where they start to filter who can be in their box or not. But a person who truly loves God looks at the person in front of them and thinks of it as like, this is a species like me. Me and him are related. If we go back far enough, we're related. When I smile, he smiles the same way. Oh, guys, I ran out of battery. This is it. I have to apologize. But yeah, just to finish it by voice, When I smile, he smiles the same way as me. I bleed the same way as him. Whatever would upset me naturally would upset him naturally. Yes, there's many programming people have to, but we have to overlook our own biased programming and try to keep the peace as much as possible. But the only criteria that I have to judge a person in front of me is he working to please his Lord, or is he working to please himself or a devil? If I see him somewhat trying to please his Lord and work for the world in the name of God, then he would be a person I would work with. Okay, guys, I have to bring this to a... it would be nice, JS. I do have to bring this to a wrap. My camera has ran out of batteries. Let's take this as a sign. I do have to also prepare for tomorrow. I love you guys. Peace to everybody, and thank you for making this a pleasant podcast. Hopefully we'll have more of these. Okay, peace upon you all.